Welcome to FemLead, the podcast on female leadership and role models. Prepare to feel inspired and better equipped to navigate your career path. I am Alexandra Chabotaru, your host, and together with my guests, we will tackle a new field of work in each episode. The aim of this podcast is to deep dive into career perspectives and strategies to navigate your desired path for success. Enjoy! Hello all, and welcome to a new episode of the Female Role Models podcast. Today, we will tap into the world of investing, tackling the subject with the co-founder of Female Invest, Northern Europe's leading financial educator targeting women. In June 2020, she became the European laureate of Cartier's Women Initiative Awards, the world's largest startup competition for women entrepreneurs. The goal of Female Invest is to help women become better at investing and managing their personal finances. They do this, among other things, through video courses and coaching sessions. Since Female Invest was founded in 2017, the company has helped 25,000 women across 33 countries become better at investing. Please welcome my next guest, Anna-Sophie Hartvigsen. Hello, Anna, and welcome.
Hello, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us. I think that the timing couldn't be better. You just won a very important startup competition targeting women, Cartier Awards, and I wanted to first of all congratulate you for that.
Thank you.
You have done a great job together with the other co-founders, and I must say that ever since 3 weeks ago, I became a member of Female Invest too. So I look forward to learning more about the world of investing. I think you have a great platform, and I look forward to sharing your journey with others and how you decided at 25 years old to have a very successful company.
Thank you. I look forward to sharing everything as well today.
Tell us more about what does Cartier Women Initiative means and the startup competition.
So in Female Invest, we just won Cartier Women's Initiative, which is the world's largest startup competition for female-founded startups. It's a competition that focuses on startups with positive social impact. And then the way it works is that female-founded businesses from around the world can apply. And then one business from each continent will be chosen as a winner. And then it's a whole program. So we applied in August last year, along with the thousands of applicants, I think from more than 160 different countries. And then we were chosen to be a finalist initially, and then we enrolled in a half-year program where we got support from professionals in the industry on how to better run our company, and we became a part of a huge network of amazing female founders from around the world, and then it all culminated a month ago in a pitch for an international jury, which we then ended up winning here almost a year after applying.
Wow. Well, first of all, congrats.
Thank you.
Second of all, I didn't know it's such a long process. So you've basically been in this setup for a year now?
Yes,
almost a year. Yeah. And you said that you also got the advice. Who were the people that are part of this network? Like, who were your advisors, and how does it work with the competition?
So the competition was made in collaboration between Cartier, the luxury brand, and McKinsey and INSEAD, the famous university. And then as part of the program, we got both access to a lot of webinars and professionals from INSEAD, but then we also got access to industry professionals. And then they matched professionals who fit our company. So we were matched with the CFOs, so chief financial officers from large international companies who looked through our finances with us and talked to us about where we could optimize it. And we even got our own coach who we had weekly calls with, who was also a founder in a fintech company. And she gave us guidance and shared her experience with us.
Wow.
And then, of course, first of all, also all the other female founders.
Well, wow, it sounds really like a great network. So I just wanted people to know more about the setup, the startup competition, because I know about it for, I think, 2 years now. And I've been following them on Instagram. And then, to be honest, that's where I found that you won, because I saw your face there and I saw a poster and then it said Female Invest. And I was like, wait a minute, I know this company. And I was very happy to see that. So congrats again. I would like to maybe talk a bit about your journey into starting a company, because you're fairly young and you've been talking in TED Talks and in other presentations about the fact that growing up, you didn't really know much about investing, and you also didn't really find many role models around that could teach you about it. And I would like to, if you don't mind, share a bit about the first experience with investing. I know you have a quite funny story about getting some investment advice on a napkin.
So growing up, I come from a smaller city in Denmark where no one invests and no one talks about money. So it really wasn't in the cards that I should start having an interest in this. But then somehow I was always interested in money and how to make money and get the freedom that came along with it. So I became interested in investing when I was around 19, and I had no idea where to start, and I didn't know who to ask. So I just started to talk to everyone who would listen. And then one day I was at a party at my friend's dorm, and I again talked to anyone I could find about how to get started investing, asking for advice. And then I ended up meeting a guy who told me that he'd been investing for a few years. And then he wrote down like 3 pieces of advice, just the name of a platform and a few do's and don'ts on a napkin for me. And that napkin was ultimately how I got started, and I still use the trading platform that he recommended. And I don't even know his name. We're not in touch anymore, but that napkin ultimately got me started.
That sounds quite interesting, and I feel that it's also a very interesting point that you wanted as you've mentioned, freedom of talking and knowing more about investment and money. What do you think is now the setup that women generally get accustomed to? How can women get more involved into investing? I know you've researched a lot about it, and you've helped many women with the company right now. What are some of the pieces of feedback you get from attendees? What do they tell you?
So this is quite surprisingly to most people, but actually a lot of women, also women who don't have a background in finance, are very interested in learning about investment and personal finances. They just don't know where to go because the financial industry is so focused on men, and that's very pervasive in all the communication around investing and finance as well. So the feedback that we get from attendees is that they're just so happy and so excited that finally there are role models and girls who look like them and talk in the same language as they do, who can teach them about it. So it's generally just a level of excitement of something they've been missing for a long time.
Mm-hmm. That sounds very familiar when it comes to role models, and a reason why I also created this podcast was to discuss some of the topics that people want to know more about, but they don't know where to look for models. I want to go back to deciding to start Female Invest as a company, because obviously you were interested in investing yourself, and you wanted to know more about personal finances and how to manage that. But what prompted you to actually start the company?
So initially, also again, because I don't come from a background where anyone works in business or where anyone are really entrepreneurs in this area, so I never even thought about founding a company. I didn't know that was something you could just do. So what we initially did was, when we founded Female Invest, that we made a non-profit organization because we thought it would just be like a small group of women with an interest in finance. And I was initially, honestly, just searching for some friends so I wouldn't be alone with my hobby. And then it just started snowballing, and it became bigger and bigger. And then at the end, as we started talking to more people and actually started making money, we realized that, of course, this should be a company. And then 1 year ago, we turned it into a company. But it took some time. It was quite a mental journey for me because I've never seen anyone else start a company. And to this day, I don't have any close friends who are entrepreneurs, unfortunately.
And what were some other options that you saw for yourself before deciding to start the company?
So I think I studied business, and as many other business students, I thought about either joining investment banking or consulting. I then went to London for an internship where I worked on the investment floor of a big company over there. And it was just so boring, like it was unbelievably boring. I was just working in Excel sheets every day, and it was really, really not for me. And that was quite a hit because I always saw myself as someone who would work with this, and I'd become kind of the investment girl in many circles I was in. But then I just learned that I actually thought it was boring, and that the thing I like about investing is the part where you make money. So then I thought that I would be a consultant, just investing on the side. But then obviously now I know that I'm going to be an entrepreneur. But it took some time. And even now, I sometimes have days where I think about that, oh, this is just my hobby, and one day I'm going to get a real job. Because when you don't see anyone else doing what you do, then it's sometimes hard to actually believe that it is a real job being an entrepreneur. But of course it is.
What were some so the driver for starting a business was obviously the fact that the business kind of took off. So it developed quite fast from a hobby to a serious setup where people really wanted you to share your advice, and you've created an educator for Northern Europe. What would be some of the recommendations you have for people who are maybe unsure about whether they want to start a business?
So if looking as to whether or not to start a business, my advice would actually be the same as if you're considering whether or not to start investing, and it is to just do it. Like, you can always stop doing it. It's the same with starting a business. It's really not expensive. In Denmark, you can start a company for 1 krone. Like it's, 10 cents or something like that. So it's actually really cheap. So I think you should just start it, and you don't have to quit your job and work 100 hours per week from day one. You can also start your business and keep your day job, and then just work on the nights or on the weekends. And then as you start seeing a proof of concept, or as you start making money and feel more comfortable, you can go proper full-time. Actually, research shows that companies where the founders had another job to begin with are more likely to succeed. So I think there are many ways of doing it. Which was quite a learning for me as well. Like, it doesn't have to be this extreme thing that most people probably think about when they talk about entrepreneurship. And really anyone could do it, and you can start a company in like 1 hour from home online.
I think that's a very fair point with it doesn't take all your time if in the beginning you want to maybe prove your idea. Obviously there are some milestones, so I can see how you, together with your co-founders and team, you've managed to establish already a customer base before deciding to create the business. And you've also gathered quite a lot of enthusiasts that were very happy to see themselves on the stage discussing some of those topics. So that was a very well thought strategy, and I think it's a very good point to emphasize on the fact that you yourself didn't start by having a company, but you started by having a nonprofit before it became a business. So you started with the movement, and then you moved into the business side. And just as a nice transition to your career path, what were some of the important milestones in developing Female Invest? So obviously we know about the starting point, and then the fact that at some point you've decided, okay, this is actually going to take off. But so far in your journey, what are some of the important milestones that you feel are important to mention to listeners?
There are both. There are different types of milestones. I think some are within the concept. One being when we went from a non-profit to a normal company. Then another one is that in the beginning we used to be very event-based, and like you said, we had more than 25,000 women physically attending our events, and we just couldn't keep up with the demand. Like, no matter how many events we would host, they would just be sold out like immediately. So a milestone was when we decided to launch the digital learning platform, where we now have members in many countries, because that was a whole new level of scalability. And then when coronavirus closed down the world, it was also an amazing tool to still be able to communicate with our consumers. And I think professionally, we also had some milestones now of course, the Cartier Women's Initiative that we won, but also when we hit the Forbes 30 under 30 list in March, that was also for sure like a huge blue stamp for us.
How did you navigate the startup ecosystem? So now that you had an idea that was proved and you had a lot of demand, how did you navigate the entrepreneurship life?
Oh, that was actually very difficult for me, and it continues to be difficult until this day. And to be honest, it's not because it's difficult to run a company. It's not because of the facts. For me, the difficult part is the mental part. So, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that I have no role models in my network that I can look up to, or no one I can spare with, and no one I can talk to, which is actually quite surprising to me. But I think it's just because there are so few, especially female-founded startups. So I think that's actually the hardest part, and I think a lot of the mistakes that we have made, and I mean all startups make mistakes, that's for sure, but I think a lot of them could have been avoided also if we would have had more, like a stronger network of entrepreneurs that we could have asked. So I think that's actually the main challenge, is that that my network is simply not big enough. Like, we know so many people and we have huge networks within the financial industry, but I don't have anyone who are just my friends and who live the same type of life as I do, and that's a challenge, I think.
And when you say that, you refer to the fact that, like a young entrepreneur that has a, mission-based company, or what are you referring to exactly?
Then I mean, like, as a person who would be my age and work as a full-time entrepreneur in his or her own company. Like, I don't have anyone in my network like that, unfortunately. Yeah, because I do have like a kind of people in my network, but I don't have anyone who would be also my friends who I would have dinners with or kind of share more life stuff with, which then also makes it hard, because I think everyone likes to use their friends and family members for advice, but it's quite hard to talk to someone who have no idea, what problems you're facing, even though they want to understand.
Definitely, yeah. And to discuss more about the company itself, what is the mission of Female Invest?
The mission of Female Invest is to close the financial gender gap, like, in short, because women are falling financially behind. And in Europe, actually, right now, women retire with 35% less money than men. And that's just an insane number, like 35%. And if we look at Denmark alone, that number is actually larger, than it's 43. And I think that's just insane amounts. And what most people don't know is that that women managing their money differently than men is actually the key driver behind this, because the gender pay gap is only around 16%, which is also a lot, but it doesn't even explain half.
What are some of the other findings that you are able to share about gender traits in investing?
Well, first of all, we see that women are underrepresented in the stock markets and in financial institutions around the world. Like, there are 195 countries in the world, and not a single one of them have anywhere near equal representation among private or professional investors. But despite this, we see that women actually perform better, both as professional and private investors, when they do get started. And when we measure, the differences in how men and women trade, we can see that women tend to be more risk averse, and that they tend to hold their investments for a longer time on average.
When we talk about opportunities, do you think there's any correlation with opportunities for females versus males to discuss investing, or find out about investing, or even have a slightly more interesting approach towards investing?
Yes, women are very disadvantaged when it comes to learning about investing, and that's not my personal opinion. That's just if we look at facts. And the way we can look at facts is firstly in the way investing is communicated to women. Like, there has been made major linguistic research studies showing that men and women are taught about investing very differently, not just privately, but also the communication from banks. So whereas women are often portrayed as being big spenders who splurge money away on avocado toast and cafe latte, and I think all of us have seen, that advice with the don't buy the latte and stop buying overpriced avocado toast. But funnily enough, we've never seen it with stop buying expensive cars and tech gadgets, which would be for men. And then women are also advised much more to save up their money, whereas men are invited to, are kind of taught to invest. And the communication towards men kind of portrays them and not as knowledgeable, and portrays the stock market as having a lot of opportunity rather than a lot of risk when talking to women. And then there just are no products catering to women. And when I say catering to women, I mean that it's not targeted to the female needs, which are sometimes a bit different when we look at women as a group, because women just have different often career patterns and all these things. And I think a large part is because there simply aren't enough women in the financial industry. So the competencies to understand women as a target group is simply not present in banks. Like right now, it's only 4% of CEOs in financial companies that are women. So of course, I mean, the 96% of male CEOs don't have the competencies, unfortunately.
How are you tackling this this issue with Female Invest? Tell us a bit about the structure and how you decided to structure the business, the learning curve, the learning path. What are some of the key areas that you focus on with Female Invest?
So in Female Invest, we educate women on investing in personal finance, and we do that through our online learning platform where we have video courses, webinars, we have a written knowledge bank, and we have live coaching sessions. And the common denominator for all of this is that we communicate investing and finance not on a lower level, but in a completely different way. So we try to make it fun and entertaining and easy to engage with. And we do that by speaking in everyday language that anyone can relate to, and then by using female speakers so that women can actually see themselves in the people presenting. So that's kind of the main way we go about it. And then, like you said, we've also created an international movement. We've done that especially through social media, where we share inspirational content, funny quotes, role models, and we have almost 40,000 people following us across platforms now, reaching around 500,000 women every single month. And that's just kind of, sharing that investment can be fun and something to engage with.
Yeah. You actually shared a very interesting quote that I'm going to now say out loud. You said, financial equality gives financial freedom, and it provides the opportunity to make free choices in relation to career, partner, and many other things. Therefore, money is a prerequisite for equality and freedom. A lot of the mission statement of Female Invest is to create also gender equality when it comes to financial freedom, right? What are your predictions or maybe thoughts on whether that is or when is that a possibility? You serve, you are based in a developed country, in one of the welfare states, and it's a bit, obviously it's easier than in other parts of the world to start a company, to run a business, and you've reached so many people already. What are some of your thoughts in relation to financial freedom and equality?
So regardless of what country you're born in or what country you live in, then financial equality is a prerequisite for equality in all other aspects of life. Because if you don't have money or if you're falling financially behind, then like you just said in the quote, you don't have the freedom to leave your partner if you're financially dependent on him. You can't quit your job if you don't like it, if you don't have enough savings, and so on. I think, unfortunately, it will be a very long time before we see financial equality, because right now women only control around 30% of the world's wealth. However, what I think is very interesting is that in the coming years, it's predicted that female wealth will increase faster than global wealth. So I think women are catching up, and I think that's a very positive trend, probably also because women are now higher educated than previously. I hope that this trend will continue, and if women start to manage this money differently, there's actually hope that we can speed this up. But I don't see it happening in the near future, unfortunately.
And when it comes to, let's say, some barriers, what are some barriers for females to get started?
To get started investing?
Yes.
That would be the fact that there are no role models, no targeted offers, and that all the stereotypes around women and money are against women, like when it comes to investing.
Yeah, so as you've mentioned, is the market is not necessarily created to supply both males and females with the knowledge that you can do it now and that you can start investing and you can look into it. I find that very, well, of course, very true and also very interesting, because I was curious if any bank or any institution had any feedback for you now that you've started the company.
So we work with a lot of banks and financial institutions. and we help them, better communicate to their female customers. We help them attract new female customers and activate the ones they already have who don't invest. So the financial industry has been very positive towards us because we learned how to do something that they didn't learn how to do yet.
What did you wish you knew about the industry and about the startup environment, also working in the financial sector? Are there any pieces of advice that you can now share with the listeners to help them in their path?
So in terms of starting a company, my main learning is that anyone can do it. You don't need a lot of starting capital, unless of course you're building a very advanced tech product or something. But so if my best advice to anyone thinking about starting a company is to just do it, and to maybe search for other people who have done it, who can help in the beginning. They're welcome to reach out to me also. And the same would actually be for investing, because I know for myself that the main barrier or the main obstacle I have had has actually been myself, simply because I didn't know what was possible. I didn't know, I had to figure everything out myself. So look for advice and then just take the leap.
What are some resources that you can recommend people to look at if they want to start investing? Obviously, to check Female Invest, but what other sources of knowledge or of advice you can recommend?
That's tough because there are a lot of websites and a lot of books out there, but most of them, in my opinion, are written in like a super boring language on a way too high level. And that was also a challenge I had myself. So I actually wouldn't know, like, of course you can always Google, but I just don't think there's anything super great out there. There's a lot of material on a very high academic level, but my best advice would actually be to look up people who already invest and talk to people, especially if you can find someone you can identify with.
Yeah. It just, based on everything you're telling me and all the research you've done, it's obviously shown that you are innovators when it comes to, investing for females, just focusing on this audience and being very vocal about the fact that the current resources are not really made for easy understanding. So you have to actually invest a lot of time trying to understand how it works. And obviously, as many things in life, you need to work hard for something to happen. But at the same time, it shouldn't be that hard to start reading about it. So I really think that, while you're telling me that there are resources out there, the truth is that I'm just hearing the fact that you have really been an innovator when it comes to developing the platform and bringing together females that were interested in this topic of investing without knowing where else to look. So I want to say that this is, from my perspective, really cool. So congrats again. I think it's a very nice, just a very nice vibe and a very nice conversation to discuss with somebody who said, I don't really know where to look for this information, so I'm just gonna put it out there myself in some easy to understand words and in a structure that can actually be followed online through courses. I've actually been on the website and I've done some of the video trainings, and I find it very easy to follow. And then you have a little quiz at the end, so it's really focused on keeping you engaged. And I think this is a great way of learning. When it comes to lessons that you learn in your development, so obviously you've mentioned both advice for entrepreneurship and for investing, but if there were are there some key pieces of advice that are maybe more deep, that what's on the surface than the immediate, that you would want to share, something that you really realized while building Female Invest?
Yeah, I think one thing that's a bit more concrete but also universal is that when you then take the leap to found a company, then make sure to do everything properly from the beginning. And with that, I mean, like, make sure that you found the company kind of correctly. If you have a co-founder, make sure that you do all of the contracts properly. Because when you lay the foundation for your company, it's easy to do, when you do it the first time, but it's just so hard to go back and change. So actually really make an effort, and that goes every time you do something new, to do it properly from the beginning, because if the foundation is not right, then it's hard to build on top.
That's a very good piece of advice. Do you have any routines that you follow? Any, I don't know, rituals, if you may, that you follow? Something that really brings structure to your life?
I think what I love about an entrepreneurial life is that it doesn't have a lot of routines. Like obviously every morning at 9 we meet at the office, but there's also a lot of freedom. So some days, while we're at the office, we decide that we're going to work late and stay until midnight and order food. And other days we maybe we're in the office at 12, like in the middle of the day, and then we see that the sun is shining and we decide to go and drink champagne in the sun. So I actually really like that flexibility, and for me personally, it's something that it really gives me a lot of quality of life. And I think also when having your own company, at least for us, because we're so passionate about it, like we're so passionate about the mission of empowering women, and we have so much fun running the company. So no matter what we do and where we are, it's always kind of running in the back of our heads. And I really enjoy that. So in a way, I'm always working because I'm always thinking about it. Like no matter where I am, and sometimes physically in the office, and other times it's somewhere else. But I think that's quite a privileged feeling like that.
It is, yeah, indeed. I'm very happy to hear that, because it sounds like you're also having a lot of fun and that you're building a very nice culture within the company. How many are you now hired?
So we are 3 people full-time, and we're going to have an intern full-time as well from August. And we hired 4 people part-time, who then each have an area of responsibility. And then we have some freelancers hired as well within the IT and marketing.
And when it comes to developing the courses, do you develop the courses yourselves?
Yes, so we develop most of the content ourselves, and then some content which is a bit more niche or on a much higher level, we develop in collaboration with professionals from the industry. But then there are a few things that we do get inputs on, because of course we also don't know everything. Then we always, like, they bring kind of the content, and then we figure out how to communicate in a way that's still fun and entertaining. Maybe to give a bit of background, then I have been investing for 7 years, and it's the same with both of my co-founders. And we have all also been working in the industry. So my one co-founder used to work as a stockbroker, and the other one worked in commodity trading, and then I worked in London for a little while. So we do, and we also wrote a best-selling book actually on it. So we do have quite some knowledge ourselves, but of course we don't know everything. So sometimes we reach out.
I actually saw the ad for the book. I think it's in English as well, or is it only in Danish?
So right now it's only in Danish, but like we've been working on an English book for some time, but then other stuff keeps getting in the way. Most recently, Corona. But at some point, I think we'll write an English book as well.
And what about, just to sum up, what are the expansion plans for Female Invest?
So right now we are primarily focusing on the Nordics and English-speaking countries, because that's easy in terms of cultural similarities and languages. But going forward, we want to expand globally, because this is a problem in every single country around the world. And like you said, we already have members in more than 30 different countries now. So we're on our way, I would say.
Do you have any final thoughts that you want to share with the listeners?
No, my main thoughts are just that if any of the listeners have a dream or a drive to either start a business or to try getting started investing, then I really think that they should just do it. None of those two things are expensive. You can get started with both, very little money, and it could potentially be life-changing. So my best advice is to just start out, and you don't have to jump in the deep end right away. You can just start by dipping your toe in the water and then take it from there.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much, Anna, for your time. I think this has been a very useful presentation also for those who have absolutely no idea about investing, as well as for those who are passionate about investing. I hope you will get many new users of your platform from people listening to this podcast. And thanks again for joining and for giving your time here.
Thank you so much.
I hope you felt inspired to take charge of your next career move. Remember to review this podcast and share your comments. Thank you.